Colleagues, do we know if the meeting is starting or what's going on?
We're also waiting. We're not too sure, but I can see that we also don't have the feed from the main. Oh, there's the first four boardroom. Okay.
Oh, I should say something. I'll wait.
Good afternoon, honorable members. Department led by the HOD, the support team, honorable members that are connected virtually. I think we should start our meeting. Uma kusekhona ongakaqedeli, aqhubeke aqedele, kodwa sizobe siqhubeka nomhlangano. Thank you, honorable members. Ngizocela ningixolele. My voice is not well because I have a flu. Sizobekezelelana. Ngiyabingelela-ke kakhulu ku-MEC osesijoyinile. Bingelele kubahlonishwa bonke. Let us start our meeting. Sicele uMrs. Mhlongo asikhulekele. Thank you very much, Mrs. Mhlongo. Sabonga kakhulu bahlonishwa ukuthi sikwazi ukuba si-honorishe lo mhlangano wanamhlanje. And thank you very much, Honorable MEC. This is our first meeting this year as a portfolio committee of the social development. So, siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi sibe kanye nawe. Ngicela siye ku item 2 or ama-apologies.
Greetings, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to the honorable members present and online. Greetings to the Honorable MEC, HOD, and the entire team from the department. Greetings to my colleagues as well. Chairperson, we have received an apology through yourself, Honorable Ban Prakash, Chair, who is attending to other businesses, Chair. Chair, we do have a full quorum for today's meeting, Chair. All the other members, the rest of the members, they have joined us virtually, Chairperson. They are connected as we speak. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vose. Okay, siyaweqa-ke item 3 because you already alluded that we do have the quorum. So we then now go to adoption of the agenda. Honorable members.
Honorable Masigo, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Masigo.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, MEC and the department and the entire team. I hereby move for the adoption of the agenda as it has been flighted on our screens. Honorable Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shasi. The agenda has been moved. Any second?
Chair, Honorable De Boer here.
Yes, Honorable De Boer.
I second the adoption of the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The agenda has been adopted. Item 5, remarks by the MEC. Honorable MEC. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Special greetings to you, the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development, the HOD of the department, Mr. Onkemense Kabastia, DDG Thomo, and all chief directors and members in the meeting, the HOM, PLO, Sanbona Nonke. I was trying to ask Mr. Mthembu if I have time allocated, because the chair has already indicated that it's our first meeting for the gang, and I already have such a handful to share with the committee, so it's difficult when you don't allocate time. But Chair, I will move. I just would love to greet everyone, all members. It is an honor for us and the responsibility to appear before the esteemed Portfolio Committee to present an account on matters concerning the work, performance and governance of the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Social Development. Today's engagement, Chair, on the 2026-2027 Annual Performance Plan, departmental investigations and pending cases is a critical exercise in democratic oversight. This is through platforms such as this that we reinforce accountability, correct weaknesses, and sharpen our focus on service delivery. Honorable members, the 2026-27 Annual Performance Plan is a deliberate outcome-driven program of action aligned to the priorities of the 7th Administration and the Provincial Government of Unity. It responds decisively to the social realities confronting our communities, including deepening poverty, rising unemployment, substance abuse, gender-based violence, and the vulnerability of children, older persons, and persons with disability. Honorable Chairperson, as part of that, we bring along, as per the request of the committee, the Regional Executive Manager of SASSA and her team, so that we respond on all matters relating to the portfolio. Honorable Chair and members, when we speak about tough action to correct wrongdoing, we do so on the basis of practical interventions. Just yesterday, the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Social Development commenced with the relocation of older persons from the KwaMashu Christian Care Society. This followed sustained engagements between the department and the management of the organization regarding serious concerns and irregularities that compromised the well-being, dignity, and safety of their residents. We afforded the management the opportunity to address the identified shortcomings. However, where corrective measures are inadequate and where the well-being of residents remains at risk, we are compelled to act decisively. Our responsibility is to the vulnerable and not to the institutions. The relocation process is being undertaken with care, sensitivity, and proper social work support. Older persons are being transferred to alternative facilities that are compliant, properly monitored, and better equipped to meet the needs. Wherever possible, residents are being placed closer to their families and strengthen social support system and ensure continuity of care. The safety, dignity, and emotional well-being of the affected person remain our highest priority. Honorable Chairperson, in closing, with regard to the departmental investigations and pending cases, let me state unequivocally that the department has adopted a zero-tolerance stance against fraud, corruption, and maladministration. Investigations are conducted thoroughly and independently in line with public service regulations and applicable legislations. Disciplinary action is instituted without fear or favor. Where criminality is suspected, matters are referred to appropriate law enforcement authorities. We therefore, Chairperson, welcome the robust oversight from the Portfolio Committee. Your scrutiny strengthens us, your recommendations guide us.
and your partnership ensures that the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Social Development remains accountable, responsive, and effective. We stand ready to engage openly, Chair, on all the matters before the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. The remarks owenza phambi kwethu siyamukela kakhulu. Siyacela siqhubeke ne-agenda yethu siye ku-adoption of minutes of the previous meeting A 11 November 2025. So cela ukubahlonishwa then bese siyawa-adopt. If there is any corrections that honorable members want to correct, you will raise your hand, then pause it, bese siyalungisa. Thank you, honorable members. Here is the minutes of the 11th November 2025 meeting. Any mover? Honorable Mngadi.
Thanks, Chair. Greetings to yourself, greetings to the MEC, members present, and to the administration. Chair, I move to adopt.
Thank you, Honorable Mngadi. Any seconder?
Chair, Honorable De Boer here.
Yes,
I
Honorable
second-
People.
I second the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable De Boer. B, matters arising from the minutes. I see the hand of Honorable Mngadi.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm assuming we're going to go through the resolutions register here. Is that still coming, or do we just raise if we have issues to maybe address?
Yes, Honorable Mngadi, we are waiting for it. Honorable members, silinde basivezele ama-resolutions, responses, ukuze siqhubeke nomhlangano. Thank you very much, MEC. Siyacorrectana la. Sicela u-HOD asifundele wona.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and greetings to you and to honorable members. Greetings to the Honorable MEC and colleagues from social development. I will go through the resolutions as well as the status report, Honorable Chair. The first subject matter was the NPO oversight and financial monitoring. The committee resolved that the department must implement the planned transformation of the NPO directorate to include subdirectorate for financial monitoring, as well as compliance, and report back on progress. The progress is that the structure for the NPO directorate is currently undergoing a review process and will be subjected to consultation processes with relevant authorities, including the Office of the Premier, Organizational Development Unit, as well as the Department of Public Service and Administration for concurrence as well as approval. We are hoping to get this matter resolved as a matter of agency. Second subject was in relation to local supply development for SRD. It was resolved that the department must explore and report on further options for sourcing qualified local service providers for social relief of distress, as well as the collaboration with Department of Agriculture. The response from the department states that the Department of Social Development continues to prioritize the utilization of qualified this approach supports local economic participation while ensuring timely and efficient service delivery to beneficiaries. In areas where no suitable local service providers is available, service office staff provide logistical support, including transportation, to ensure uninterrupted distribution. This interim measure safeguards continuity of assistance while alternative sourcing options are being explored. The department remains committed to strengthening partnerships and will further assess opportunities for collaboration with the Department of Agriculture and other relevant stakeholders to enhance local sourcing capacity as well as improving distribution efficiencies. The terms of reference for procurement of SRD are being reviewed to look into the issue of small-scale farmers being involved in the process. The next subject is on Youth Development Center model. The resolution was that the department must review and report on the decision regarding the management model for youth development centers, specifically the potential return to NPO management and standardization of management structures. The response is that the youth development center model, which also include the youth academies as well as the one-stop community development centers, are currently undergoing internal strategic review process, which also include cost-benefit analysis of different operating models. The outcome and the recommendations of the review process are likely to take effect in the new funding window as part of the sector funding policy rollout. The model for standardizing the management structures and optimization is being worked on and will be finalized by the end of the current financial year. NPO funding increases is the next subject. It was resolved that the department must continue to engage with provincial treasury regarding the possibility of increasing funding for NPOs and to provide an update to the committee. The department is continuously engaging with provincial treasury for the NPO subsidy increases. However, there has not been any positive feedback yet. The provincial treasury is citing provincial fiscal constraints. However, the engagement continues. I may just maybe add, Honorable Chair, that we had a bilateral meeting with Treasury, head of department yesterday and the Treasury team, and we argued and presented this matter again, that it is no longer sustainable that NPOs would not have received any inflationary increase for the last 5 to 6 years. And yet they are expected to operate as normal. Also presented our case that we are beginning to see requests for closure, especially residential facilities. And our biggest concern is that we don't have capacity to provide an alternative if those NPO residential facilities are to close. So we are hoping that Treasury would have listened to us and they will respond accordingly. And then with regard to item number 5 or subject 5, Zululand equipment, NPO equipment and funding. The response from the department is that the NPO applied in November 2025 for electricity capacity upgrade to phase 3 with reference number which is 1044191767. The department, together with NPO chairperson, on the 10th of February 2026, visited ESCOM, the Mpangeni branch, with an aim of making physical inquiries regarding their application. The application is on the system for approval, but it has to move different stages, including ESCOM verification and site investigation. The testing and installation of equipment will be done upon the conclusion of the upgrade process. The application process takes 6 to 9 months. Estimated completion will be July 2026. That is in terms of the advice from ESCOM. The amount of 186,000 was processed and paid on the 13th of Feb 2026 to the NPO, and we have also attached the proof of payment. Number 6, overachievement of indicators and the tolerance level. It was resolved that the department must finalize and communicate the department's tolerance level and control boundaries for overachievement and underachievement in performance indicators and present these to the committee at the next appearance. The response is that for the 2026-27 targeting process has been held in all 12 districts in conjunction with the head office program managers, taking into consideration trend analysis of performance, baseline information, resources, and capacity in district to set realistic and achievable targets. The underperforming indicators are receiving management attention to arrest the underachievement. And it's a very small number, Honorable Chair, of these indicators. For the overachieved targets, the department will in 2026-27 implement a tolerance level of 30% threshold that is acceptable within the performance range. This will take into consideration the dynamics of the social sector. The tolerance level will be adjusted downwards in the outer years to streamline overperforming indicators. But we would like to make a point, honorable members, that due to different circumstances, the overperformance challenge will not be completely eliminated, but we at least seek to better manage it. And then the last one was on the transfer of the district director for Zululand. It was resolved that the department must provide written response to the committee clarifying the operational reasons and cost implications for the transfer of the district director from Zululand as per committee request. The response is that the district director from Zululand was relocated on transfer with effect from the 1st of September 2025 to Ilembe district. That the redeployment of the district director was meant to strengthen the leadership capacity within Ilembe district to improve service delivery, as the post was left vacant after the transfer of the district director to King Kajwayo. The department paid for interim accommodation for 2 months and resettlement cost, which is in line with the department transfer policy, also informed by the resettlement policy. Those are the responses to the resolutions. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Choti. Honorable members, here is the responses. If there is any questions of clarity, or any input before we adopt the resolution's response? If there is no, Honorable Masigo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think we must really welcome the responses to the resolutions that we as the committee have handed over to the department for a response. I am, however, concerned, Honorable Chair, on the last resolution that the HOD has presented in terms of the response that has been given. I was not part of the delegation that did go to Zululand, but from the responses in terms of, not the responses, but the engagements that have happened so far, Chairperson, have shown that the committee has been concerned on I'm not going to say performance per se, but the issue around the NPO and the role thereof of the district manager or the director of Zululand. Now, I'm concerned, HOD, when the reason for the transfer of the district director is given as going to strengthen the work of the district in Ilembe, whereas I don't want to say there's a cloud that is hanging over the district director, but there are issues that have not been really resolved in relation to what has been raised or what has been a concern to the committee on her role. Now, I'm not sure, HOD, whether it is the correct reason that you are putting forward that you are going to strengthen Ilembe, whereas you've not dealt with the issue, or there is another reason for the transfer of the district director. It's just a concern, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Masigo. Stay in the other hand. Honorable Ngati.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'd like to agree with Honorable Masigo on this one. But before we get into that, to maybe just say we appreciate the report given by the HOD, and equally the engagement that we've had with the MEC. It really is a breath of fresh air to participate within a committee where the MEC has provided really outstanding leadership, and we see the progress being made by the department, including when we are able to give resolutions and we see the outcomes of it. I won't go into a lot around the specifics in Zululand. I was there, but Honorable Masigo does highlight key issues, particularly around consequence management, and I'm not sure. I may have missed it. I haven't missed a portfolio meeting, but I may have missed the tabling of a report of that issue. So maybe if we can also maybe just give clarity if that has actually come to this committee and if there's record of that. And maybe if we could just address the concerns that Honorable Masigo has raised, which were the similar ones that I was going to, I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ngati. Any other hand? Okay. HOD, if you may respond.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and the questions from the honorable members are appreciated. Honorable Chair, I stand to be corrected. I seem to understand the concern not necessarily being around the process of the transfer, but the issues behind the transfer. So in other words, there may be issues that needs to be followed up, even if the transfer has been concluded. That is what I seem to understand from what the honorable members are raising. So it may be necessary, Chair, that for us to be able to properly investigate what the issues are. I'm not sure if it is permissible to request that we get a written correspondence from the committee detailing exactly what the key issues are that the committee would like the department to look into. And on the basis of that written correspondence from the committee, then the department would then take a decision on whether to institute an investigation on the matters or how do we deal with it. And then we can maybe respond solidly to the committee based on that written correspondence. With great respect, Honorable Chair, if that is possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, HOD. Ukuthi kwathusa ukutransfer kwakhe emva kwezinto esazifica eZululand and wayengenazo iy'mpendulo zakho konke esasikubuza. After lokho useya-transfer. That is why ama-members concerned about i-transfer yakhe. But sizoyenza i-correspondence so that we will get exactly what is happening. Honorable members, or Honorable Masigo and Honorable Ngati, I saw your hands.
Thank you, Honorable. Maybe I
Yes.
had my hand up before you commented, but I wanted to agree and say that maybe we should, as a committee, write formally to the department around this issue. But Chairperson, I want to say to the HOD before one agrees to that. Yes, I was not part of the visit myself, but as I'm saying HOD, that continuously in meetings, there's an understanding that the committee will be receiving a report around the action that the department has taken on certain individuals on the project that was visited. I don't think, Chairperson, that as a committee we go into the specifics around who has been transferred and who has not been transferred within the department. It came to the attention of the committee that instead of us receiving a report on the district director of Zululand, we get a response that the district director has been transferred to Ilembe. And I think that is how then the greatest concern from the committee arose, that instead of us receiving a report from the department on what has been done, we then receive a note that the district director has been transferred. Now, HOD, for me, it is a concern that the reason for the transfer is saying that she is going to further strengthen the work of the district of Ilembe. Whereas there's a certain cloud, if I may put it as such, maybe it's too extreme, that is hanging over her head around the issue of the performance in relation to the work of that specific NPO that was visited. So for me, it is a gray area that needs to be answered, HOD, in relation to the real reasons why the district director was transferred. I don't believe that it's to strengthen a certain district, whereas in your current districts, there are issues that still need to be responded to. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Masego. Honorable Ngat.
Covered, Chair.
You are covered.
Yes, Honorable Masigo has covered me. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. HOD.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I accept the guidance that is being provided, and we should be able, Honorable Chair, to really provide a comprehensive report and to determine whether the issues that would emerge from the write-up of the committee, they just require internal investigation or what form of investigation needs to be followed through. And we'll just follow the whole process as it's supposed to be, including out around them issues, and then we'll give the committee a full report.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, HOD. Which means on the next meeting, we will get the report.
Yes, Honorable Chair. I'm also hoping that we can then also get that right up so that at least we've got a firm like terms of reference of some sort.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Is there any follow-up question? Okay, Honorable Emerson.
Thank you, Chair. There was a question or comment from Honorable Gatti about the report of those NPOs. I do want to confirm that on the last meeting, those reports were submitted on KGB and the other and presented. Chair, thank you, Major. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, MEC. Now, canvassing for the adoption of the matters arising resolution register. Honorable Mngadi.
Okay, noting the proposed amendments, because the reality is that one of those resolutions we've now technically amended, in the sense that we've now asked for additional information. Having noted that amendment, I will then propose to adopt.
Thank you, Honorable Mngadi. Any seconder? Honorable Masigo.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I second.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The matters arising from the minutes and resolution has been adopted with the amendment and seconded. Thank you very much. Let us proceed to item 7, departmental report 7.1 or draft 2026-2027 annual performance plan. HOD.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members. We will have a short presentation led by Dr. Taba on the draft 2026-27 annual performance plan. Just to put on record, Honorable Chair, that this is still work in progress. We are concluding our planning processes, and we should be able to present the final draft in due course based on the guidance from the portfolio committee in terms of the next date. But the draft is ready to be presented now. Doc.
Greetings, Honorable Chair, MEC, Shukti, and honorable members and colleagues. Thank you very much. Honorable Chair, we are presenting the draft annual performance plan for the 2026-2027 financial year. As the HOD has indicated, it's at a draft stage, but we are in the process of finalizing it. We will indeed be guided by the dates communicated to the department by the portfolio committee on when we should come back to the portfolio committee with the final draft. The presentation, I'm going to try and summarize because we have about 53 slides. I'll try and talk to the presentation. Let me not spend a lot of time on the presentation outline because I'm going to deal with the details of the annual performance plan. We are saying, Honorable Chair, that the requirement for developing an APP should be that it should align itself with national policies, the planning frameworks in the country, the budgeting processes, as well as the required reporting processes to the oversight bodies. And this is aimed to align itself with the country's planned medium and long-term development results. It also assists in budgeting priorities and the planning processes so that they are all aligned. Our 2026-27 APP is informed by various national provincial policy frameworks, included the NDP Vision 2030, the KZN Development Strategy, which is currently under review, the 3 priorities of the 7th administration, our draft strategic plan for 2025-2030, the State of the Nation address, State of the Province address, the Provincial Executive Council, the whole pronouncements. But furthermore, we're saying that our APP is informed by the availability of budget, human resources, our infrastructure, and the tools of trade. In terms of alignment with national priorities, indeed, we are aligned with the National Development Plan, the Medium-Term Development Plan, and the priorities of the sector, which is the social development sector. In the next slide, we are outlining how we as a sector are customized to summarize in that social development and welfare services are a concurrent function where the national and the provincial departments have legislative competencies. And there are functions that are performed at national as well as provincial level. And as a result, the development of a set of standardized indicators becomes imperative so that there's uniformity in the sector across the country. This uniformity speaks to the availability of standardized services in all the provinces. The other issue that we want to raise here is that the standardization of these indicators is a consultative process where national and the provincial departments come together to agree on a set of core indicators for the sector. And these have to be approved by the provincial heads of department for implementation across the sector. But of course, there would be those indicators that are non-sector indicators, but are province specific. And those help the provincial departments to provide specific focus on key issues that they want to elevate and address in each province. So our APP would have both the sector and non-sector indicators. When we set the targets for these indicators that we have, we look at the general criteria which is applicable across all APPs. The first criteria use the baseline information. The baseline information typically talks to the previous performance of the department in the previous financial year, but it also looks at the population growth. It also looks at the availability of budget and the trends over the last 5 years. When we set the targets as well, we look at, in as much as we look at the previous year's performance as a baseline, but we also look at the first 2 quarters of the financial year's performance, and that would indicate to us the trend that is likely to happen going forward. We then look at the resources that are available, including budget, human resources, physical resources. We look at our infrastructure, including the ICT infrastructure, the buildings, the offices, service delivery points. And we look at the demand for services. Demand for services would be the trends in terms of the reports from the district development model, the community profiles, the outreach programs that are conducted, the research from States SA, but also research internally in the department and the research emerging from elsewhere in the country, but also the monitoring and evaluation visits that are conducted periodically in the department. In addition, there would be the program-specific criteria that relates to the norms and standards applicable to each field of service, which then guides the setting of the targets. I must also indicate that the process that we follow in setting the targets is a bottom-up approach, where the process starts at a local service office level or the facility level. where the targets are set for those specific offices or facilities. These are then aggregated to a district level. The district directors then consolidate the targets for each district, which is informed by the number of offices in that district, the number of facilities that are in that district, and of course, guided by the availability of resources. Once,
Sorry, ngiyakwalusa ukuphazamisa. But bengibuka isikhathi. It's 3 o'clock. I think if you can go straight to the targets.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just, Chair, finalize this point that then these are aggregated to provincial targets. So what you're going to see further down as we talk to targets would be the provincial targets that are made up of local and district aggregated targets. I'll go straight to slide number 25. All right, 22. Yeah, slide 22. We've got 5 programs in the department, program 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But maybe it's important that I share this background so that when I present the targets, there is an understanding of how some of the issues that are emerging came about. There would be, as I said, there are sector indicators, the non-sector indicators, which are provincial indicators, as well as the new indicators that have been agreed upon in the sector. So when we set these targets, we look at our resources and spread our resources accordingly to cover all these 3 sets of indicators. Honorable Chair, you and members, you'd also notice that as we go through the indicators and the targets, there would be those targets where there's been a decrease. The reason for the decrease in those targets primarily is caused by, one, the changes in the legislative environment, especially in the child support grant, where there's been introduction of top-up. So there's been a move of children from the previous arrangement to a new one within the top-up, and that has created the reduction in our targets. The budget cuts, which always create a lot of problem for us, also affected the targets that we previously had in our previous baseline, to an extent that for the upcoming financial year, we're looking at the decrease. But most importantly, the introduction of the new indicators has meant that the human resources that we have means that we need to spread these human resources across these different targets. The important element with our department, Honorable Chair and members, is that for all the targets that we have, they are linked to individuals. There's no target where no one takes responsibility for. It is for managing performance of staff, but ensuring that everybody accounts for the performance of the department. What we have seen recently, because of our success in achieving savings, whereupon we're able to employ more social work supervisors. A lot of social workers internally have been promoted to become supervisors. And as a result, those social workers who have been promoted, who had previously been taking care of particular targets, these targets now no longer have people to take care of. However, we are in the process of filling the post of 100 new social workers who are going to take care of these indicators. So what we are presenting today is a draft. We are in the process of filling in the post. Before we come back to the portfolio committee to present the second draft of the APP, we would have filled those posts and would have linked these targets with those individuals who would have been newly employed. And therefore, they would be taking care of this. So it's critical for us that we explain this so that honorable members understand the process that we are following. In that, when we did the first draft, these individuals who had been social workers had been promoted. So there was no one to take care of these indicators, the targets. But we're in the process of filling this post. By the time we come back, we would have those individuals linked to these targets. And therefore, the decreases that you see would have been turned around and become increases. So you see increase from whatever the number was as we present. It's quite a number of the targets where there have been decreases. Maybe let me focus on those where there's been decrease. Performance indicator number 2, number of social service files providing evidence of comprehensive assessment conducted, a decrease of 323. This is going to increase once we fill the vacancies. The second indicator, which is the number of written supervision agreements, this indicator is no longer in the sector list of indicators. We therefore decreased it by 1,559. The next one, which is the number of graduates on internship program, a decrease of 140 due to budget cuts, but also the HWC has not finalized their targets yet. I hope that when we come back, that would have been finalized, there would be a change in this. Number 3B, number of social service professionals employed by the department by increased to 50. It's in line with the national development plan objectives. Number one, following one is the percentage of suppliers paid within 30 days. We've increased this target to 100% because the baseline shows that we are performing better under this indicator. The next one, 3D, percentage of expenditure in relation to DSD allocated budget. We target 100% because our baseline has always been within the variance of 2%, which is nationally agreed. The next one is the vacancy rate as a percentage. We are at 100% because our variance is within the acceptable range of 10%. The next one is the percentage of disciplinary cases finalized within 90 days. We've decreased this by 50% because of the previous performance. Honorable members would remember that there's a lot of dependency on external resources to finalize some of the disciplinary cases, and we have not been performing well on this, and we've decreased our target to 50% on this. Under district management sub-program, the indicator on percentage of wards that have been allocated as social worker, that has not changed, it's 100%. Which is in line with our service delivery model. Under Program 2, Social Welfare Services, a number of older persons accessing residential facilities, a decrease of 326 because of the previous trend where we see the reduction in the utilization of facilities. The next one, which is community-based care and support services, a decrease of 2,133. This is informed by the HR capacity that I was referring to. Number of elder abuse cases reported, a decrease by 35. Just a pause here, Honorable Chair and members, in that as a department, we will in the next week or so be meeting as well. We will be looking at these what we call negative indicators, because the question is, when you report on the number of elder abuse cases and then what? So we want to add a non-sector indicator that would say number of elder abuse cases reported and attended, the interventions thereof. So you report and then what happens? So when we come back with our final draft, would have addressed that because we want to be impact driven rather than just numbers reported. The next one is number of persons with disabilities accessing residential facilities, a decrease by 9,028. Similarly, it's the human resource capacity. Also, the next one is affected by human resource capacity, but we will be addressing this when we have sorted out our capacity challenges. The next one is the number of persons with disabilities accessing services and funded community-based rehabilitation programs, a decrease of 756, the same reason. Even under HIV and AIDS, Honorable Chair, decreases that are seen there would be as a result of the temporal decrease in human resource capacity, but this is going to be addressed in the next couple of weeks. Included there is the social relief of distress. However, with the social relief of distress, I must emphasize that we are in many instances guided by the available budget. However, what happens is we go through the financial year, we do get additional support from our donors, our partners, and so on and so on. That increases our achievements. But one would say, why then don't you target according to the baseline? But it's difficult to target guided by the donations. What if the donations don't come? So we target based on the available resources. However, when donations come, the support that we get, we then report accordingly. The next one under children and families is the decrease. The first one, number of family members participating in family preservation services. This one decreased by 26,000. This is mainly based on the change in the calculation method. Honorable Chair and members, we use different calculation methods also in our targets. There is a cumulative method of calculation, non-cumulative, year-to-date, annual, and as well as quarterly targets. So this one was influenced by the changes nationally from the method of calculation. The next one, number of family members reunited with their families, this decrease is influenced by the HR capacity that we have, which I have explained. The next one, number 14, number of family members participating in parenting programs. This is partly influenced by human resource capacity, but also influenced by the change in the calculation method nationally to cumulative year-to-date. Under children and families as well, and support services to families, number of homeless persons who receive psychosocial services. This is a new mandate, as previously communicated to the portfolio committee. So there's no baseline, and that also includes 14A, 14B, 14C, which is number of persons, homeless persons reunited with their families, and number of homeless persons with substance use disorder referred to treatment centers. The next one, which is childcare and protection services, indicator number 15, number of reported cases of child abuse, decreased to 316 as a result of human resource capacity, and that affects the other three in the same sub-program, which is the number of children in valid foster care orders, number of children placed in foster care, number of children in foster care reunited with their families. However, as I explained earlier, was also as a result of the change in the legislation where with the introduction of the child support grant top-up arrangement. The next one, which is still under childcare and protection services, is number of children granted leave of absence in alternative care placement, decreased by 291. That's as a result of our human resource capacity, which is a temporal issue. The next one, which is a new indicator, doesn't have a baseline. The number of adoption cases finalized by DST social workers. I omitted to include Honorable Chair and members just after performance indicator number 15, the number of reported cases of child abuse. Also with this one, because this is we call it a negative indicator, we're going to also include the interventions made as a result of the reported cases, so that it's not just reported cases, but we need to be seen to be doing something when those cases are reported. When we come back, we would have an indication of how we are addressing the interventions element after cases are reported to the department. The next two ones are the partial care facilities registered and the children accessing registered partial care facilities. The decreases in there are as a result of our temporal human resource capacity, which is going to be addressed in due course. Moving to the next, this one is under the sub-program Child and Care Centers. We see the decreases of 335 and 164 respectively under performance indicator children based in child and youth care centers, the number of children in child and youth care centers reunited with their families. The decrease is as a result of our temporal human resource capacity. The next one is number of children reached through community-based prevention. Similarly, the issue of human resource capacity, where we see a reduction of 2,554. The next one, under crime prevention, program 4, restorative services, sub-program crime prevention and support. Indicator number 24, number of persons reached through social crime prevention programs. We see a decrease there of 32,000, and number of persons in conflict with the law who completed diversion program, a decrease of 253. This is going to also reflect a change when we come back with our final draft. The next one, still under restorative services and crime prevention and support, number of children in conflict with the law and number of children reached through structured aftercare programs. These are new indicators, they don't have baseline. So we are starting anew with these, with the targets of 100, 858 respectively. Still under program 4, victim empowerment, number of victims of crime and violence accessing support services, number of human trafficking victims who access social services, as well as the number of victims of GBV and crime who access sheltering services. We see the decreases there, but also that fits under the explanation that we have provided of our temporal human resource capacity, which is going to be addressed. Still under program 4, moving to substance abuse prevention and treatment and rehabilitation. Indicator number 29, number of people reached through substance abuse prevention programs. There's an increase. The only decreases that we see is indicator number 30, number of service users who access substance use disorder treatment services, and number of service users for substance abuse accessing reintegration and aftercare. The first one has a decrease, and the second one has an increase. Moving to program 5, which is our last program, number of people reached through community mobilization programs. There's a decrease by 3,476, still human resource capacity, which we are going to be addressing soon. Number of NPOs capacitated, a decrease of 450. This one is influenced by the budget availability going forward. The next one, under poverty alleviation, sustainable livelihoods, number of people benefiting from poverty reduction initiatives. This one is increased. Next one is households accessing food through DSD food security program, a decrease of 2,527. This is as a result of the reduction in the SRD budget. This one is the same one that I explained when we were in program 2, that we target according to the budget available. But usually through our partnerships, we do get support from our partners through donations, and this usually increases. But for target setting, we only limited ourselves to what we have available. The next one is number of individuals vulnerable to hunger accessing food through DSD center-based programs, a decrease of 5,141. This is also due to budget availability. The next one is number of cooperatives linked to economic opportunities. We see an increase here of 5. Under EPWP, work opportunities created, a decrease because of the budget cuts. Number of full-time equivalent EPWP accumulated, the decrease due to budget. Number of beneficiaries participating in EPWP training, an increase. The next one, number of districts implementing pilot project for linking caregivers of child support grant beneficiaries to sustainable initiatives. This one remains unchanged. Under community-based research. These ones, the three indicators there show an increase. Moving to the next one, under youth development, all three indicators on this page show a decrease, and this as a result of the human resources, but also the budget cuts. It is the number of youth development structures supported. The issue that the HOD raised earlier of the stagnant allocation of our budgets under support to NPOs also contributes towards this, where we can't add more youth development structures to be supported because of the budget cuts. And the number of youth participating in skills development programs, this has decreased. We, however, work very closely with a number of partners. We're hoping that this is going to be turned around once we have sorted our MOUs with different partners who support us. These include the Department of Higher Education and Training, the SITAs, National Skills Fund, Schools Radio, and others. The number of youth participating in youth mobilization program, a decrease of about 207. We're hoping that when we finalize our final draft of the APP, this would have changed. Under women development, a decrease of 143 under the indicator number of women participating in empowerment programs. This is as a result of budget cuts, but as same with youth, we're hoping this one is going to change as we continue engaging our external stakeholders. The last sub-program, which is population policy promotion, all the targets have not changed. They are maintaining their previous baselines. Then the next slide talks about how we measure performance, which is part C, where we're talking about updating our risk registers. The entities under the DSD portfolio, which is SASSA and NTA, because these entities report to National Department of Social Development, they are not included in the provincial DSD APP. They will be reflected in the national DSD APP. We will, of course, provide an updated list of infrastructure projects and our infrastructure plan in our final draft of the APP. We currently do not have private-public partnerships, so this one we're not going to be making reference to in our final APP. We will also include the technical indicator description manual, which then describes the criteria that we use to measure our performance under each of the indicators, but also explain what this indicator means. Further, we would also include under the technical indicator description manual, we would include the methods of calculation. How do we calculate our performance against those indicators and the targets associated with those indicators? It will also indicate which of the indicators are sector and non-sector indicators. The last slide, Honorable Chair, talks through the time frame. Maybe some of the dates might be slightly off, but it's the process flow of how we going to go about or what we have done towards the finalization of our APP. The social development sector, led by National Department of Social Development with the provinces, together with SASSA and NTA, around November, the sector indicators were finalized. As the HOD indicated, we are now in the process of finalizing our performance targets. We are going to incorporate the inputs from the sector, from the Office of the Premier, Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, the Portfolio Committee, and other stakeholders in our final draft. In March, having considered all those inputs, we'll then go back to the MANCO of the department for adoption, and we will then present to the Honorable MEC, and following that, we'll then submit to the Portfolio Committee. However, the dates will be guided by the Portfolio Committee on when the final draft needs to be presented. And after that, we would then submit our final APP to the Office of the Premier, which would then be followed by the tabling of the final APP at the legislature. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Baba. 2026-2027 budgets, draft budgets. SASSA, what discussions? Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The CFO will lead us on the draft budget. CFO, please try and keep it short without losing the meaning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashoti. Good afternoon to the Honorable Chair, and afternoon to the Honorable MEC, Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Ashoti, teachers, and the management of the department present. I'm taking you through the draft 26-27 budget, which is about to be finalized at Provincial Treasury for tabling at the Provincial Legislature. The outline will talk about the purpose, legislative framework, the revenue estimate, the changes in the baseline, that draft representation, and that draft infrastructure budget conclusion and recommendation. The purpose to present to the Social Development Portfolio Committee the 26-27 MSEP budget for noting the budget trends, discussion, and supporting. The legislative framework are being guided by Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Section 216, subsection 1, 2, and 3, which guiding the national and provincial municipal budget processes, and also the PFMA Act number 199, as well as trial regulation, specific section 26, chapter 5 of the trial regulations, section 38 to 43 of the PFMA, as well as section 39 and 39, subsection 1 and subsection 2 of the PFMA, as well as section 45, as well as approved departmental budget management in the monitoring reporting policy, approved departmental revenue management policy. As far as the draft budget submission for the revenues estimates, we are estimating to collect 9.2 million in 26-27, 9.6 million in 26-27, 9.9 million in 27-28. The main cost driver is on sale of goods other than capital assets, which is estimated to collect 6.11 million, followed by transaction finance assets, which is estimated to collect 1.7 million, and sale of capital is estimated at 1.2 million. With regard to the allocation, the department has received the allocation letter from Provincial Treasury. The baseline for 26-27 was 3.7 million. We have received an additional allocation of 64 million, which comprises of 40 million that is received from Treasury for refurbishment of state facilities responsible for children. And we have received about 9.9 million, which is the allocation for the early retirement penalties, where the department was requested to submit a list of officials who would like to partake in early retirement, and Treasury was going to fund that, and they have confirmed 9.9 million, as well as 14 million for the conditional grants. Unfortunately, Honorable Chair, our grant has reduced from 18 million to 14 million. 14 million. We have lost about 14 million, and the people who are paid by the grant, they are going to be suffering because we do not have much money, and as a result, we are reducing as per the allocation is showing. Our revised baseline allocation is now 3.8 billion in 26-27, 3.9 billion in 2008, and 4 billion in 28-29 financial year. These are the changes that I've highlighted. The 40 million is to accommodate the renovation or refurbishment infrastructure for facilities responsible for children. And there's also the budget cuts that we have received as a department in 27-28 of 20 million, and in 28-29 there's a budget cut again of 22 million. These cuts were implemented in compensation of employees as the
biggest contributor to the expenditure of the department. So that hinders the department to be able to expand and fill more positions. There was also additional 9.2 million for early retirement penalties, and also there's a reduction of contract grant from 18 to 14 million. Then the next one, this is the table indicating the allocation per program from program 1, program 2, program 3, program 4, and program 5. The next one is the allocation per economic classification. Compensation of employees is the highest spending item in the department. Since the department, it's a high labor-intensive department. We need people to do our work. So 54% of our budget goes to compensation of employees, with 2 billion allocated in 26-27 financial year, 2.1 billion in 27-28 financial year, and 2.2 billion in 28-29 financial year. Goods and services is the second contributor to the allocation department, which allocated 869 million in 26-27 financial year. This allocation is mainly for operational cost in the department, for the department to continue to operate. The department needs to procure essential items like stationery, cleaning material, toilet paper, renting of equipment, photocopy equipment, water and light security, and food parcel, and so on. All those items that are operational costs in nature, they are budgeted at this item with a share of 23%. In transfer and subsidies, there is allocation of 735 million, mainly allocation under NPOs, with 709 million to fund the NPOs that department is funding to measure the extension of the department services in communities. Payment for capital assets is 138 million, of which building and infrastructures is allocated 117 million for refurbishment and renovation of state facilities, including the 40 million allocated for renovation of child and youth care centers. Machinery equipment, which is a provision for the tools of trade for the staff, including computers, laptops, and furniture, is allocated 20.8 million, which is 0.5%. And I also need to indicate here that on this allocation, we are having a lot of challenges or shortages, including the funding for replacement of vehicles. We do not afford to replace vehicles or to buy new vehicles, since our allocation is limited to this. Then this is the narration for the classification, which I will not explain one by one, but this allocation will cover the positions that department has been approved to fill, with 148 positions, and also estimated for 80 positions. And also goods and services has also grown, as you can see, to provide for operational cost. The next slide, the slide on infrastructure. This is our infrastructure. Slide number 12. Slide number 12, thank you. This is the allocation for infrastructure, allocation which consists of existing infrastructure, maintenance of current infrastructure allocated for in 26-27, 41.1 million. Upgrade addition is allocated 26.1 million. Refurbishment and rehabilitation is 68 million, including 40 million for the refurbishment of CYCC, as well as infrastructure allocation of 63.1 million. These are we're highlighting, Honorable Chair, the pressures that we have under administration. We've got 80 million pressure. That is for replacement of 63 vehicles already disposed, and other fleet needs that we have in the department. Social welfare services, we've got the issues of shortage of social workers, the NPO subsidies that has not been increasing for a number of years, including the tools of trade that are not fully covered, the restorative services. We've got challenges around GP facilities and needs for the facilities to operate optimally. We've also having some issues around the staffing for the GPV shelters and NPOs that are providing this GPV facility services, which are not fully funded. Under development research, we've got we've got youth centers, CNTCs, and that are not fully functional because of limited budget, and also the post for CDPs, which are not funded, but they're vacant. We need about 12 million for CNTCs, CDPs, vacancies, and youth centers. We need about 20 million for the centers to be functioning optimally, and also to have a number of intakes in a particular financial year. In conclusion, we say the department has complied with all trial regulations or trial guidelines for MTAP submission and adhered to all stipulated deadlines for submission, and also implemented the CPI's projections on the MTAP budget submission. On 4 February, the department received a third draft allocation, which communicated changes to the baseline credit contract grants, budget additions, budget cuts into outer years due to data updates of a provincial equitable formula. Further revision was undertaken per program, and economic classification updated in the third draft submitted on the 4th of February 2026. Social sector EPW grant allocation was communicated on 28 January. That has significantly reduced by 4 million. Treasury allocated 9.9 million for the KwaZulu incentive of early retirement without penalties, and VEP for employees in the public service. This required funding was allocated to respective provinces for the pension penalties aspect, which will make payment directly to the government employees pension fund. The MSC letter and a special memo by HOD was forwarded to Treasury with a summary of budget pressures, which affects effective transition from social welfare to developmental and provision of services to communities in the province. There's also a limited scope for reprioritization toward adequate funding for youth development program, expansion of crime and victim empowerment, increase to subsidies for NPOs, replacement of obsolete ICM, as well as infrastructure upgrade. To recommend that the Social Development Committee notes the budget trend and pressures of the department's budget and supported the draft 26-27 budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, CFO. I think we do our discussions before we continue with the agenda. If there is any questions of clarity, thank you very much for the presentation of the draft 2026-2027 annual performance plan, and as well as the budget. Honorable members, if there is any questions of clarity on the presentation. Honorable Deborah.
Thank you, Chair. With regard to the APP, I know it's going to come back to committee, but I just want to clarify something. A lot of the our targets we've reduced due to shortage of manpower or staffing. Did we not just employ a whole lot more social workers recently, not so long ago, last year? That should actually make us actually reach our targets and probably possibly exceed our targets if we've got more social workers now. So I'm trying to understand why the reason for reducing is because of a shortage of staff, yet we've already increased some of our social workers. So just a point of clarity there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deborah. Honorable Masego.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you to the MEC, the HOD, and the team for the presentations of both the draft APP as well as the draft budget. I think, Chairperson, we must welcome both with the understanding, Chairperson, that the department would be able to do more if they do have the financial resources that will give them enough human resource to achieve more, as we would like, Chairperson. But we do understand the current financial challenges that are faced by the department. I think, Chairperson, we do support the strategic intent of the APP, but we do, at the end of the day, wish that there must be a certain shift, from a relief-based, relief-based interventions, because we were so excited, MEC, when we first had our meeting in 2024, and the MEC was able to outline her key deliverables, as well as our focus areas that she wishes to achieve in the next 5 years. When the MEC chairperson had outlined that one of her key priorities would be to ultimately see the shift beyond welfare, where we are able to say that social development indeed is moving towards a development-based approach. We supported that 100%. But in terms of continuously, when we see the APP, we are still leaning towards a welfare-based approach, but it is understandable, Chairperson, but we do look forward to a future where we will be able to see targets that are, funded kahle, and also are measurable in terms of those that will be able to deliver on the developmental aspect. So, Chairperson, I think we do support the alignment as well. We are happy with the alignment with the NDP 2030, as well as the MTDP 2024-2029 of the 7th administration priorities. It must be commendable, Chairperson. But as that has been said, we must see that this alignment is able to translate into measurable impact at a community level, because that is where the tire hits the ground, Chairperson. In terms of the food or nutrition security, Chairperson, I think it's important that the reported, because the APP does mention our community nutrition development centers, as well as our social relief of distress programs. But what is important, Chairperson, so that we are able to ensure that the livelihoods at a ground level are able to also benefit, is the linking of these food relief programs to local agricultural programs at a ground level, because you do have your small scale farmers at a ward level. It would be, Chairperson, welcome if these programs are able to link with each other. But it's not a question, Chairperson. As I said, I don't have a question, but I think, MEC, we do in the future want to see more investment in programs or even measurable milestones that speak to the transition that we are looking forward to, as well as our EPWP participants also moving beyond these 2 years to also being able to establish their own entrepreneurship programs, so that they are able, and we are able to see that they have been capacitated enough to do that. But ultimately, MEC, we do look forward to a future where we'll be able to report on programs where we say that Nakama dependence to the end, they've been moved from this dependency cycle to more sustainable livelihood opportunities. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, MEC, and your team.
Siyabonga, Mhlonishwa uMasibo, Mhlonishwa Umngadi.
Ngibonge Sihlalo. Allow me to maybe greet the meeting once again. Chair, mine is really, I'm quite happy with the budget outline and the key prioritization of specific programs. What I've noticed, and so this is more of a comment as well, is that the attention that the department with the Office of the MEC has placed on fraud and risk implementation. We were quite happy to see some of the key interventions is slowly starting to turn the tide around within this department, and we're seeing what it looks like when a department is able to seamlessly implement programs, even in the current predicament of austerity, to implement programs, ensure that public finances are used for public good, and follow up on instances where questionable decisions have been taken. We see the positive sort of spin when that kind of leadership is provided, and it's something that I hope other departments take note of. You know, in the collective of this government that we're in. So mine is to just say that we commend the department and the MEC for that turnaround. I understand and I do question some of the rebasings within your annual performance plan. The HOD sort of does explain why those rebasings have taken place. I would just maybe then say perhaps in this specific instance, the budget does then play a key role. But again, to sort of echo some of the sentiments expressed by Honorable Masiko, who also did cover me quite extensively, and I don't want to repeat a lot of that. It's just to say that it's important that we start moving away from reporting on key sort of targets set and start also reporting on measurable outcomes, so that we understand that where we place our finances, we can also track if they have then resulted in a progress that is in line with what we set out to do. And I know when the MEC took over that one of her key sort of deliverables was to move us away from being a people of dependency to self-sufficiency. And I think what happens in a lot of these cases is that the department can't do that alone. For instance, economic development needs to match that with economic growth. So jobs are provided so that when we take on these beneficiaries, they then also have a line or a place where they can then benefit post us equipping them with whatever skills that we have to offer. I also want to maybe mention that while there were a few cases of what's the word, organizations that were beneficiaries of the department that maybe did not utilize funding appropriately. And again, we saw and we note those interventions made by the MEC. There also have been really great turnarounds that we've noted. For instance, the Blaubosch, I can't say that word, Chair, Blaubosch used the sense, I think I'm saying it correctly, was one key, sort of example of a center that's been well run and well managed, and that sort of you can see the impact it has in that community. And so mine is also maybe to just encourage that we look after those centers, and where possible, should means be available, that we invest even more in those kinds of facilities, because I think the off-spin then becomes, something that you can track and that we can then see in those kinds of communities. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mngadi. Sikhona esinye isandla bahlonishwa. Honorable Hadebe.
Thanks,
Chair, greetings all of you. Chair, in program 5, performance indicator 33, 34, and 35. There appears to be a contradiction regarding poverty reduction initiative. For an example, the indicator, the number of people benefiting from poverty reduction initiative increased by 709. Yeah. May reflect underlying factors such as unemployment, persistent poverty, and widening gap between the rich and the poor in KZN. Conversely, the indicator, the number of individuals vulnerable to hunger accessing food through DSD feeding programs decreased by 5,141. My question is, what is the reason for this decrease? Is this due to higher employment, full employment among beneficiaries, or migration or relocation to other provinces? What really happened? What causes this decrease and the increase in performance indicator number 33? The increase by 709. Thank you, Chair.
Sabonga kakhulu bahlonishwa. Sicela ukunikezela ku-MC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members, for the questions and guidance. I think maybe let me start here, Honorable Chair, that we understand the concerns raised by honorable members, but we do confirm, as we did at the beginning, that this is still work in progress. As the honorable members would be aware, we still have to follow through the cabinet Lekgotla outcome, state of the province address, and many other processes for us to arrive at the final APP, or at least the final draft that we can be able to present to the committee. So the concerns that have been raised, Honorable Chair, it is not really for us to defend. We have noted all of them. And when we do the final review of the APP, we get to all these issues that honorable members would have raised with us. I also completely agree with honorable members around the strategic direction that the MEC has provided the department around the transition from a welfare dependency status to a developmental status. As we may have communicated this before, the state of dependency in the country is a crisis. I think we have to accept that. It has been confirmed, I think, many times that the current budget of the National Department of Social Development is over 800 billion for the current MTF. And of the 800 billion, 99.6% of that budget is going to grants. So that is a crisis that everyone in government must be worried about. And the issue of the transition must be pursued. And to that effect, we're trying to mitigate, firstly, that the current austerity measures that are being followed do not collapse our services. Number one. Number two, we have to, in our engagements with Treasury, we have highlighted the fact that the transition will not necessarily amount to taking from the already vulnerable, sector and to do the transition, but we also need to get financial injection and from Treasury to be able to drive this. But we are also doing internal reallocation of resources to fund some of the transition projects that we're looking at. But we have also decided, Honorable Chair, to engage with other funders outside the department and Treasury And with the direction of the MEC, we are currently in the process of arranging a partnership summit where we will be bringing in business, CETAs, all funders we can think of, so that we can begin to put our proposal across for funding from these structures to drive our care economy, as well as the transition that has been referred to earlier. So there's a lot of work that is being done to that effect. And then the question on resources and the social workers vis-a-vis the reduction in targets. Honorable members, I think it's important to emphasize this point that the appointments that were done for social workers in the main, it was for social work supervisors who were then promoted from the current internal capacity that we have as a department. But the department has started the process to recruit around 100 new social workers. The process is currently underway, and we should be able to complete that process before the end of the financial year. But at the time when the draft APP was concluded, we were not yet sure in terms of how that process is going to unfold. So certainly, because now we know, we should be able to engage in the review process, and the targets may come out different when we appear again in the portfolio committee soon, probably in the month of March, before the beginning of the financial year. Thank you very much. Chair, let me see. Thank you very much, HOD. Let me see. Let's try something.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think the HOD has really covered everything to say. We've taken counsel. We've not had all issues of concerns, but like he's saying, it's a process. We'll then filter them where possible and then look at the final APP data. Thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu kumphathiswa. Honorable members, is there any follow-up questions? Oh, you're covered. Thank you very much. Now we are going to start. Oh, okay. Continue with the agenda. Like this one. Khona umuntu ongiphazamisayo la eceleni kwami. Ngizocela sithathe 7.3, 7.4, 7.5 siye kuma discussions. Item ngayinye ngicela nje ukuyinikeza 5 minutes. 5 minutes mkhulu futhi now. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. 7.3, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The report 7.3 will be led, and 7.4 will be led by the Chief Risk Officer, and then we'll then get the Chief Director for the cluster to take over, Chief Kumed, 7.5. But maybe just to assist the colleagues so that, especially on 7.3 and 7.4, Honorable Chair, I just want to make the following points, and I think it will assist the colleagues to move with speed. I think the first point that I would like to make to the committee, Honorable Chair and Honorable MEC, is that at the present moment, we don't have any major investigations in the Department of Social Development at the present moment. The investigations that are currently underway in the department are investigations that range on issues such as your not declaring remunerative work outside the public service, loss of assets like your laptop, absenteeism, or misuse of state vehicle, and so forth and so forth. So we do not have any major forensic investigations currently being undertaken in the department. With regard to the investigations that were previously concluded, a lot of these have been a lot of these processes have been concluded through disciplinary processes, and many of these that required, for example, investigations by SAPS and others, we have been able to refer them, but we have closed the internal processes as a department. There were several investigations that had to do with abuse of foster care money by some social workers. Those issues have been investigated, closed, internal processes concluded, and we have now referred the matters to the South African Social Security Agency as I would call them the owners of the grant, to take the process forward to recover if there's a need to recover and so forth. So just to give a summary of the current misconduct cases that we have, Honorable Chair. Currently, we only have 3 cases that are under investigation. We've got 3 cases that are at the hearing stage. We've got 9 cases of which investigations have been finalized, and they will be going through the hearing process. And we've got 2 cases that are at the hearing stage, which emanates from the investigations that were done in 2020, relating to COVID issues and so forth. And so, allow me, Honorable Chair, to say that in as far as issues of misconduct and investigations, I think the department is out of a crisis situation. And I think these are normal, investigations that get undertaken, in the department, when from time to time officials misconduct themselves and so forth. So I think that's just the confidence I wanted to give to the committee, that in as far as this is concerned, I think the department is under no crisis at the present moment. And then with regard to the fraud and risk implementation plan, CRO, I would like you to focus on giving the committee the assurance that we do have in place a fraud and risk, implementation plan, that there are structures available to monitor the implementation, that we've got a system of monitoring and evaluation, and that we are able to report an account, particularly to oversight bodies such as this committee and other related committees, so that you just give that broader summary. I hope this assists, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, HOD. Greetings to the Honorable Chair, Honorable MEC, Honorable members, members of the management. I think the HOD has just did my job. I don't know what more to say. Maybe just to as a summary of the report that is being cited. I think the head of department did indicate that we are out of crisis as a department in terms of implementing consequence management, to an extent of saying of giving the house the state in terms of the cases that are currently in progress by the department. I think I'm not going to dwell more, but what we are then reporting out of the policy and the table that is being reflected there, we've got cases from different categories of grievances. We're managing a total of 6. There are one grievance case was finalized, 5 are pending, and misconduct cases, 2 finalized, and pending for total precautionary suspension, no precautionary suspension. Arbitration cases, we've got 2 cases were finalized, 2 are pending. Labor court cases, we've got 1 appeal, 1. If we can just go on to the next slide. It's quite difficult because the HOD is just private. And I think maybe it would be safe to say,
the HOD has just started. Maybe just to go on to the next one. The next one is in relation to the forensic investigation. The HOD has clearly articulated that we've got cases that we are managing at the department. So these cases are conducted by forensic investigation, integrity management, and forensic investigation unit from the Office of the Premier. They have a mandate in terms of conducting those forensic investigation across all departments. So there were 19 cases, and all those cases were either referred to by the department, stakeholders, or whistleblowers. So out of the 19 cases, we are reporting, or we have since completed 8 cases of those. We have listed them. So when we are saying we've completed, those are the cases that we have fully implemented the recommendation of those cases. Others will find that to be, when we refer the case to the SAPS, and the SAPS will say, no, we are not proceeding with this one due to various reasons. So we have removed all those. So we are managing the 11 cases that we bring. And what the HOD just indicated that the allegation of corruption, allegation of mismanagement of fund involving the NPO that we are running. So to a greater extent, we find that after the investigation has been completed, the department will then work on implementation of the recommendation, which will then account to various oversight audit committee internal. So we are doing pretty well on that one. If I can just move on to the fraud and risk implementation plan. Yes, I can assure the committee that we do have, the fraud and risk implementation plan days that we are reporting on to as we are doing today. We also have the mechanism in terms of the monitoring what can we do. We report on quarterly basis to the risk management committee and the committee where we provide the progress in terms of pushing of all the activity, and we are appearing to the portfolio committee just to give them assurance that we do have this document with a detail of activities that we undertake, ranging from that range from the facilitation of the quarterly meeting, the appointment of the members, when there are new members that comes in, so we ensure that we appoint those members, so the changes, we get the approval of the document plan that we have in terms of implementation of the risk management strategy and the risk management policy of the department. So in summary, the structures are in place, they have been monitored. And we do undertake all the activities with the target date and the progress as well. I think maybe that just very easy. Thank you very much.
Chief Director Gumere, can you respond on 7.5, please? 5 minutes on the dot. Next.
I want to greet the Honorable Chair, Honorable MEC, Honorable Members, colleagues. This is the comprehensive report after the visit of the Social Development Portfolio Committee in KwaMsane, Lifeline, White Door, and also House of Shalom, Siyabonga Shelter, and Richardsbay. We have compiled a report where we provide as a department the progress on the issues that was raised. Only 6 issues that was raised during the visit. The first one was for the service level agreement between Lifeline and Department of Social Development. The signed level service level agreement was provided and also the service level agreement between the organization and the landlord was provided. And the second one was the issue of the accommodation for a shelter in Tuba. The committee was concerned that the NPO is renting. Why can the department look around in the area for alternative accommodation? We initiated engagement with Department of Works, but till today there's no progress because we don't have the structure yet that we have identified in the area that can be used for housing in White Door in that area. And also the third one was for a water challenge in the area. In Tuba, there's water challenge, water cuts. But the situation now is better because there's a schedule where the water comes about 3 times, and then the shelter is having a tank. When the water comes, they do fill the water tanks. I think that there's not have a critical problem now, like the time when the committee arrived in the center. The fourth one was for the committee was concerned. They asked information on our funding deliverables. What are we funding for? We provide information for our funding as the department. Also, we provided in the report the breakdown of the cost, which include the personnel, the operational cost, and also the total budget for Siyabonga Shelter was 1.073 million, which we cover all the operational cost, including the personnel. The fifth issue was the issue on the security guard, because if there's one security guard during weekend, there was no one. And then what we did as a department, we add in the budget so that they can employ additional staff so that there's a shift system. The center, in 7 days, there's someone looking after the safety of the occupants. The sixth one was for the rates there in Richardsbay is very expensive in municipality rates. And there was an issue whether the department cannot engage the Department of Cooperative Government and Traditional Affairs, pursuing to advocate for exemption of gender-based violence shelters from standard residential services rates and tariffs. The department wrote a letter to the department explaining about the challenge in the issue, and the response was that the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs do not have the mandate to do that, rather than the NPO must engage them direct so that they negotiate for tariffs rates. The last issue was the issue on our current tariffs that we use as the department, which is 70 rand, 35 meals per day allocation. The department currently using that, but as we discussed in the previous report, that due to the financial constraints, the department is unable now to increase that. But when we get funding from Treasury, we're going to look at the tariffs, the current tariffs for a shelter, which is 70 rand per day per meals. Thanks, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members.
Siyabonga kakhulu Mr. Committee. Kodwa mhlampe uma siya lapha ku number 4, clear reports outlining the funding structure. I think mhlambe HOD kukhona la ninganciphisa khona la ukuze sizokwazi accommodate kahle into ya 70 rand 35 cent, because iyakhalisa kakhulu. I don't think Right, ukuthi sithi umuntu engadla 70 rand for the whole day. It's a breakfast, a lunch, as well as a dinner. So mhlambe khona la singahlengahlengisa khona sibuke ukuthi umama uphi. We understand ukuthi kwayona le mali enikezwa i-NPO kwayona ayanele imali. Kodwa siyabonga kakhulu i-intervention eniyenzile kuleya oversight sasiyenze emtubathuba ekhingcetshwayo. But I think also in terms of into yagesi, if the department can approach the local municipality, I think maybe konongase kwenzeke going forward, because uzodelay vele makuzohanjiswa ngokhoktha uhanjiswa nge-NPO. Mhlambe uma ni-engage nina direct, I don't know how, but mhlambe kungasilekelela. Siyabonga kakhulu nento ye-security. Manager wase siyabonga wakhala kakhulu ukuthi kwesinye isikhathi kufanele kuze kube uyena oyopha i-center leyana ukuze izoba safe. So we thank you very much about that. Siyabona kune-improvement ekhona, sinishayela ihlombe kulokho. Siyabonga kakhulu bahlonishwa uma kukhona nombuzo. Ngicela phakamise isandla. Honorable Masiko.
Angibonge once again, Honorable Chairperson. Akuna umbuzo per se. It's a comment, Honorable Chairperson, just to say well done to the MEC, the HOD, and the entire team. MEC, I think what we are hearing today in relation to your fraud and risk implementation plan is very it's heartwarming, and I think we must commend the department for the implementation of the fraud and risk management plan. I think, Chairperson, it's very encouraging to see that they are implementing it to the T, because today the department is reaping the rewards, as it has been reflected by what the HOD has delivered. We do understand that the Department of Social Development is serving the most vulnerable members of our society. So it becomes a problem when what is there to serve the vulnerable groups is misused due to corruption and all these other things that happen where the money is not going where it's supposed to go. So it's very pleasing, HOD and MEC, to hear that the risks have been mitigated, it has paid off, and there's less of reported cases on such activities that really break our hearts. So MEC, I think we need to give you credit as well as HOD on your leadership. Your investments are paying off. And what we just request for MEC is that you continue with your entire team to be vigilant, and consistent monitoring, I think, is important, so that what we are having will remain and there'll just be an improvement going forward. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Siyabonga, Honorable Masiko. Ukhona omunye? Oh, thank you very much, honorable members, as well as the MEC and the HOD. Siyabonga kakhulu. Siyabona niyanyakaza. Uma nganyakazeki siyathetha. Kodwa mase kunyakazeka futhi siyabonga kakhulu. Iyasikhombisa ke indlela enenza ngayo ukuthi sosebenzisana kahle kulo nyaka going forward. Thank you very much. Sesiya ku item 8, presentation by SASSA. Sicela umama uMrs. Mzobe asenzele i-presentation. MEC.
Thank you very much, Chair and honorable members. I was not surprised on this request because as community leaders we've been inundated with requests in this regard because of the systematic change that SASSA has to undergo. So we are happy. I know we are pressed with time. She's going to highlight, but the committee members will have the report so that wherever you are able to talk about it and refer concerns accordingly. So, Ms. Mzobe, the Regional Executive Manager of SASSA, is going to take us through. I noticed to check it did not give you the 5 minutes, says the previous speaker, so you can go to town. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable MEC. Good afternoon to yourself. Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members and the colleagues, HOD. Thank you for the opportunity just to come and update the status as we came to present on the reviews that we are undertaking. We have just highlighted the entire, not focusing on all the persons. So the purpose is to present and appraise the members of the Social Development Reporting Committee about the ongoing reviews and modernization in terms of what SASSA is doing during the implementation of the grants. The background, we did come here last time to inform and to highlight to the honorable members at the Portfolio Committee to say we are undertaking at national level the reviews. At that time, we were given an allocation number of 93,142, which is the highest number in the country as per province that we had to review. And why these reviews is to ascertain if the people are still alive, is to ensure that in terms of grant reaching the right person at the right time all the time, in terms of ensuring that your financial circumstances hasn't changed for better, because when you come and apply to us, we agree that if your circumstances changes, you will come to inform us to say it has changed for better or for worse. So it is for those reasons. And the add-on layer is by National Treasury to say they are going to stop giving SASSA grants entirely if we cannot locate where the money get lost around fraud and all that. So this was an attempt to go all out and to say we've done our part to locate the money that are received fraudulently. We have legal enablers, which I'm not going to go through on the chairperson due to time, but we are mandated by legislation, Social Assistance Act, that we are supposed to suspend, increase, decrease the amounts through means test if we find that there are issues around the grants that have been received. And Section 13 of agency says we must communicate. So we don't just stop grants or suspend or lapse. We are mandated to communicate. However, here in communication, as they come to apply, they give us numbers. But when we wish to communicate, they change numbers. They change them almost every day. When you have to communicate something, sometimes it's a struggle for a message to reach the intended person. However, they are welcome to walk through to our offices and we have conversation. So if you don't show up within 30 days after us having attempted to contact you through text or email, then we delay your payment. If within the delay you don't show up still, then we suspend. When we suspend, from the time we started the reviews, we are sitting at 20,004 of people who did not come forward after being invited, which for us now says after 30 days you have not showed up, it means that money you didn't need. So we are allowed by law to suspend until you come. If you resurface, we have a conversation. If it's convincing for legislation, we give you your grant. We don't really make you suffer. I think I've touched on the need. These are the quarterly targets that we have developed for ourselves. Quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. But I'm happy to say, as of today, we are at quarter 4. We're sitting at 11,447.
the people that are a balance for this financial year for us to review. So we've been doing very well under the trying circumstances. Challenges are there, but challenges are as a result of the system dependency. When you come to us, whatever that we do, some elderly people, when they come for review, their lines, fine lines are no longer shown. So we're dependent on the Department of Home Affairs to assist by overriding after confirmation is satisfied with the disbursement. Some people don't have hands. So those are challenges that we will need a dependence from Home Affairs to confirm. So those are some of the challenges that delay us. How do we get hold of these people who are not eligible to, just go back one slide, please. How do we get hold of them? Through credit bureau. People come to us and say they don't have money. They have one banking account, which with a zero balance. But when we populate their number in our system that interface with Home Affairs, with SARS and the credit bureau, they have loans. Because when they go to take loans, they register this as an income. So they guarantee to say we have a stable income, which is a grant, which is not supposed to be an income to make loans. So that's what I wanted to touch on, to say the question that normally comes to, how do you know that I have this money? So we have a list of schedule that we say, come bring this in our messages when we invite you. So if you fail to bring those, we wait for you, we give time. Once everything is satisfied, then we give you your money. These are the figures as at last quarter. Next slide, please. And I think for us, these are eligibility criteria which we had inserted in the folder in the first presentation that we did. But we're happy to continually share with the legislature so that people will know what to bring. In terms of compliance, we're very strict to say people who fail our test, surely we suspend and we lapse. But if you redeem yourself with compliance, you come back to us. While we review as an ongoing process, we are automating at the same time. What do we automate? We are saying we want to do the biometric, because with biometric, people apply online only to find that the person is not the real person. You can do it by yourself. The red flags that we normally pick up are fraud issues. I've highlighted on the things of the numbers of the 20,000 currently. So we refer those matters to law enforcement agencies. We have our own fraud unit that does investigation and verify. People have been fired, people are in jail, and including officials from SASSA. So we have statistics which we are happy to share if need be for our members to see that indeed there are outcomes of those investigations. I think I've touched on biometrics as well, just to verify if it's indeed yourself. You arrive at our offices, we capture the data, it's stored. The dependency I was talking about is that as much as we have SASSA systems, which is 10 systems, but there is a system that is highly dependent on Home Affairs, which stores the data for every person in the country. And then we have a verification within Home Affairs. One is HENIS, one is ABIS. So those are Home Affairs systems, which we highly dependent on. So if we can't get it right with those two systems, we can't finalize your application, unfortunately, until you get it right with them. I think it's the second last slide. This is the process that we flow. I spoke about HENIS. I'm speaking about ABIS. These are key systems which delay the process of verification. Function of overriding is subject to the higher authority that are mandated to do those overrides. There are frauds, yes, within those systems by Home Affairs officials colluding with our officials and the clients at large. Next one, please. Online grants, I think I've touched on those. Those are the systems, part of the systems that we have, that we utilize. So as you sit in front of an official at SASSA, they have to interface with these multi-systems at a go. So within a short space of time, you if you pass all these loops, then you are good to go. But if one is questionable, then it stops the entire grant process. Thank you. Next slide, please. I think for me, the communication is through media. We are encouraging local community media, local community radio stations We still have ICROPS in terms of digital. We have stakeholder engagement and outreach programs. Safe to say, Chairperson, nothing much has changed except to say there's still an outcry when you stop these grants. But there's no outcry in long queues at Home Affairs. I always touch on that when I happen to be on media to say, if Home Affairs is down and there are queues at Home Affairs, the very Home Affairs that we're dependent on for our own queues, there's no loud noise from the civil society organization and the media, but the very people, when they come to SASSA, go on the first page of news and social media all the time. That's what we go through. However, we're here to recommend Chairperson, Honorable members, that the portfolio committee members note the reviews being implemented by SASSA in the quest of dealing with improper inclusion, and support the process to ensure continued eligibility and compliance with legislative requirements, and note SASSA's progress implementing modernization program, including mandatory verification biometric, know your customer KYC, we call it, processes and other online application system. With that, thank Chairperson. We always strive that we don't get paid for the hour, but we get paid for the value we bring to the hour. And we say, ebantwini sikhokhe salary granted into fanele isikhathi esifanele njalo.
Thank you very much. Uyananela u-MEC ngala. Siyabonga kakhulu kwi-presentation yakho Mama Mzobe and umsebenzi owenzayo muhle kakhulu futhi uyancomeka. Kwezinye indawo uyabonakala but kwezinye indawo kusasilele emuva. Njengoba kade ureporta ukuthi kuningi okulandelelayo, abantu bayaboshwa, abantu bayahamba ama-hearings benza lokhu nalokhu. I think, honorable members, this is the time to ask all the questions esisuke sinawo about SASSA and sirefeye nasey'ntweni ey'suke zikhulunywa emphakathini ezithinta SASSA. I think uMama Mzobe uyena ofanele ukusiphendula ngey'mpendulo eziqondile ngoba okuningi kakhulu kusuka lapha emphakathini esihlala kuwo. Ngizokwenza nje isibonelo. Uku-reviewer kwe-system noma uku-reviewer kokuholelwa kwabantu kushiya isikhala esikhulu kubantu abadala. Kanjani na? Umuntu omdala ufika afunwe i-email address mayifike e-office, afika afunwe i-cellphone number, afika afunwe izinto eziningi angenazo angazazi. Abese umbuzo uthi-ke ayikho yini indlela enye okungenziwa ngayo ngaphandle kokuthi ugogo makuthiwa akazovuselela impesheni yakhe esivaliwe, kuthiwa akalethe i-email address. Uthola ukuthi bayehambe yakhona abazumvulela futhi ngalelo langa noma ngakusasa, bazothi letha lezi zinto kuqala before impesheni yakho iqhubeke ingene. Okwesibili, kunalabantu abadala abaney'ngane zabo ey'sebenzayo ezibapha amanquphana every month. So la manquphana lawa angena kwi-account yama le umama ahola ngayo. Umama mase kufanele ayohola i-grant isivalekile kuthiwa unemali ayitholayo every month. Nalokho futhi kuyabakhathaza abantu abadala ngoba le mali esibapha yona eyamanquphana, uma ngithanda ngenye inyanga ngimnika, uma ngithanda ngiyamnika. So mase SASSA ezovala impesheni yama ethi ngoba kunemali ayitholayo, kuyalimaza somehow. Then bese kuba-ke ilama local services office angafuni ukusebenza. Mangibuyela nje kwizinto ey'suke y'thunyelwa abantu. Olundi asekuvalekile. Kuthiwa Olundi abasebenzi bakhona bafuna ukusebenza, bafike ekuseni bahlala ema-office abantu behleli ngaphandle bayixoxa iy'ndaba uthi uma kuyoshaya u-12 bese bethi system down akuzokwazi ukusetshenzwa namhlanje abantu ababuyele emakhaya. Mind you ukuthi labantu bafike ngo-7 ngo-6 ngobani isikhathi bazotshelwa kuyoshaya u-1 ukuthi i-system ayisebenza babuyele emakhaya. Esikhawini kuthiwa-ke nje umphathi wakhona akakwazi nhlobo ukukhuluma nabantu. Uma ungayiphethe i-document asuke eyifuna nje ukhuluma noma yini esuke isifikile kuye. Bese kuba ukwamaphumulo. Nakwamaphumulo futhi abasebenzi bakhona ababaphathi kahle ogogo. Akuqalwa ngabo. Noma ngakuthiwa umuntu omusha ophambili ugogo elandela ngemuva bayamlinda nje kuze kushaye igema lakhe ngisho engathathwa ngo-3 ababa-service kuqala. So umsebenzi owenziwa ama-office awugqulisi njenge-report osipresenthela yona njenganamhlanje. Siyacela ukuthi mhlampe uma kwenzeka usondele eduzane kakhulu kulezi iy'ndawo lezi ey'menshinwayo isimo sokuthi ngoba kuyenzeka kwesinye isikhathi abantu banehaba. Umuntu uma ethola i-cellphone number nje kasihlalo ka-social development athi ngibonwa yini sezokhuluma noma yini efika emqondweni wakhe. Kuyenzeka nalokho. Kwesinye isikhathi uthola ukuthi into ngampela yiqiniso. So ngingakuthokozela ukuthi u-regional manager ayibukele eduzane leyo yinto leyo. Ngalawo mazwi lawo ngicela ukuthi uma ukhona bahlonishwa omunye unombuzo ngibona umngadi ngibona Masiko. No, Honorable Deborah. Okay, asiqale ngo-Honorable Mngadi.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Deborah.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. And I didn't get the name of the presenter, but thanks for the presentation. Everything that you've explained, I kind of basically understand. But the problem is that the people that actually come to SASSA are mostly elderly people or disabled people, or mothers with children. They come for grants. They're not the same kind of people that you would find at Home Affairs. So I don't think to make that comparison is fair. But forgetting that, there are still a lot of complaints about queues at SASSA offices. In your presentation, you said that you don't, you assist them with the online application process. Now, also bearing in mind that the elderly are not tech savvy, know how to use a smartphone, and they don't know how to use a computer. Especially the people in the rural areas, our elderly people in the rural areas don't have a clue about how to use a smartphone or even the computer. And if they don't have someone to do it for them, they are basically lost. And that is where I receive most of my complaints from. It's from the outlying areas and from the rural areas where a lot of the older people are having issues with SASSA. Now, the older people also don't understand the review process and why it's affecting them. So something goes wrong, they immediately stress, and when they stress, they get sick, and then there's a whole lot of other issues. So if the staff would just speak to them nicely and explain to them that this is what's happening now, this is what we need from you, and this is what's going to happen going forward. So then at least they have some peace of mind and ease and know what they need to do in order to sort out the review process, especially and most certainly when they haven't received their grant, which is mostly the case. Because now they're stressed, they don't have money to do the things that they need to do, like feed themselves and buy medication and stuff. So I think the issue of staff dealing with elderly people need to show some form of compassion to the older people when they come through there. Sometimes the older person will give you attitude, but not intentionally. It's just because they are highly strung, they're highly stressed, and they don't know how to come across. So they might appear to have an attitude, but in actual fact, they are stressed and they're just lashing out at the first person. So, if you can treat them with compassion and talk to them nicely and explain the process to them, then it will be so much easier for your staff and for the older person that they're dealing with to actually understand and flow, let the process flow properly going forward. But with that being said, I'd like to commend your staff member Malindi, Ntombifutu Malindi, at the Durban District Office. She's never let me down whenever I've had an issue. She's always been responsive, except when she's been on leave. But I must say she's really good, and I certainly hope that you can find someone at SASSA issues when members receive complaints and issues. There should be a go-to person that we can actually go to that can assist us and to send it on to whichever district office it needs to go to, because that's where we're finding the problem. We're finding a problem where I'm getting an issue that is out in a far-lying area and I don't know who to contact there. So either a list of the district managers that we can go to in each district in KZN, or someone that can actually forward it on for us so that we can have an easier process of contact with SASSA. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Depua. Honorable Masiko.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and we appreciate the presentation from Osistamo. I think in also saying so, Chairperson, I wish to also join members who are appreciating those employees that are always available to attend to our queries that are brought to us from our constituencies. Osistamo was also one of them. At any time of the night, if you call her, she's always available, and she will always refer you also to officials at a district level or at a local level that are always assisting us, Chairperson. We need to appreciate that. It must continue because our constituencies will always call us with issues, and we need our employees of SASSA who will be able to respond so that they can also feel the warmth of a government that is able to attend to their issues. Chairperson, I think the reviews must be fully supported, Chairperson, because the objectives as they have been outlined are there to protect a government's purse, which is important, but also they are rooting out fraud. There are those who are benefiting from our grants that are not supposed to be benefiting. As much as it's a positive, Chairperson, we must be able to guard against this process not affecting our vulnerable people, because we do understand that we are moving or migrating towards a digital system, which is good and it must happen. But South Africa as a whole, especially our rural areas, there's a digital divide. There are areas, especially, Chairperson, in our rural, the outmost rural areas where there is no network whatsoever. So things that must be taken into consideration so that as much as this is a good initiative, it must not adversely affect those who are vulnerable and who are staying in the areas that are not even having any access to information. So I think, Sister Moy, issue of communication on this matter is very important. And we must appreciate when there are issues, SASSA is always able to, issue out statements in advance and take them out to our, offices where we are also able to be aware. But I think it's also important to bring in our traditional leaders as well as our councillors and equip them with some form of training and information so that now at that level, they are your foot soldiers that can take information out. So it takes for your local offices to go into councils and request for slots within council meetings so that they will inform all the councillors, and the councillors will thus become your foot soldiers. The one question that I have is relating to our abogogo nomkhulu who are bedridden. Sike sibone-ke mangabe kukhona ama-elections ukuthi kuye kube khona that segment that is called ama-special votes that will need to be visited kwama-households and bavotiswe khona. So what happens in a case where you've got abogogo nomkhulu or any other person who is bedridden that falls within this category of 93,000 that needs to be reviewed? They can't come to your offices. They've got some challenges that impedes them from coming. So what then happens in that case? How do they get that information, and how then do they get to be reviewed if they are not in a state to come to the offices? But all in all, Chairperson, I think we must appreciate the presentation, but also we need to be aware of the challenges that are faced, especially by our vulnerable rural communities, in terms of access to information, access to digital platforms that need for them to be able to consider that. I come, Chairperson, from a community where to get to the nearest town, you have to pay 180 rand to go there. So you go there, Chairperson, having when you get there, there's a challenge or a problem with the system. Home affairs, downtime, it's not working, come back tomorrow. Where then do you get another 180 rand to also go to ensure that you are not left out of the system and you are not counted? So it's those considerations that we need to make, that we are in a country where there is a digital divide, but also access for other people is not as easy as those who are staying in the urban areas. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Siyabonga kakhulu kumhlonishwa uMasiko. Sikhona esinye isandla before nginikeze Regional Manager. Asikho, siyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, for the questions. We take counsel on the inputs that will enhance how we interface with our beneficiaries. I must confess and I must concur and agree that there are certain offices with really staff attitude individuals. Very few individuals, but one individual is too many. What we have identified, especially because we have 4 districts, we are not aligned with the demarcation per municipality. So we have 4 districts. We have Durban, we have Ubuntu, we have Midlands, and we have Pietermaritzburg. What we have picked up with Pietermaritzburg, we don't have a permanent senior manager at the head. We have been having a person who's acting for some time, and most of these red flags emanate from such. We are paying close attention on the Mahlabathini matter is under investigation. Chairperson, as referred by your good self. We have discovered that it was a service point. Service point are an extension of service offices where we go once a week. So in that office, we agreed that we go once a week, which is on a Tuesday. We monitor the population of the beneficiaries within that area. We might discover that when we started, we had a population of 50 people who would come every Tuesday. But with services being sufficiently granted, the numbers die down. However, if there is no communication that the demographics, so the population that is accessing, no longer warrants this size of amount of human resource, it's the gap of communication between the local office manager who's taking services there and the district service manager who in the capacity of acting. So that's what we have established, but we are working on that one. As a Kawini, we are going to pay close attention and Omapumulo, because that has been reported as well in terms of attitude of some individual. However, must bring comfort to say in our offices when you enter, there is in our bulletin board, a head of the local office in terms of identity. There is a cell number and there is a district cell number. You know, officials don't want their cell numbers to be there. However, there is fear, which is brought about, of course, by attitude. What if I report this next time? I'll be, a victim of whatever. So that's what we are looking at. On the communication, I fully agree. We have to intensify our communication. Honorable Deborah, on the part of my comparison with Home Affairs was on the basis of the system and nothing else but system. I said 2 systems, harness, where we verify that indeed you are alive. That's the only system that confirms for us. So the ABIS, it's a system that is a data storage that is only kept by Home Affairs. So if that system is not active, there is no amount of queue that will be exclusive to SASSA than that of Home Affairs. It's a system issue. It was by no means to mean that elderly at the Home Affairs, when ABIS and HENIS is not there, there's an exclusion for them to get something else. But if there is a need, like you don't have hands, your thumbprints or your fingerprints are not readable, there is an override, which is a special mandate for a special higher authority. It was on those bases only. In terms of the queues, the amount of queues that we are experiencing and the frustration by elderly. Once an elder hears that you've been invited to go and review, they don't wait. Take me there. I want to go and ask if I'm not due for review. It's in the nature of them. They have that anxiety. What if I don't end? So it talks to communication that we have to have up our communication to say, if you have not been invited, stay calm, don't freak out, we'll come to you. And also as an add-on, for elderly and the vulnerable and the frail and those in hospital, we come as SASSA and do home visit. If we have to bring doctor from SASSA to do whatever assessment, the doctor come to a household. So we encourage again that if there are those cases, because there are not many cases like that, we have dates that we book them for. The doctors go out and visit those clients in their comfort of their homes. I want to appreciate on behalf of the colleagues that are doing well. I'll relay the message to say there is an appreciating from the committee, and I want to give Mr. Brewer some bites on the ones that I did not cover. Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings, honorable members and colleagues. Yeah, maybe let me start by clearly indicating that the review process is intelligence driven. It's not just a random sampling of any beneficiary who are aged, of infirm, or who are frail. When I say intelligence driven, is that the populace of the numbers that you've seen that flash up there, before we call that particular beneficiary for a review, we have already run their detail across various platforms. We run them against SARS, we run them against Credit Bureau, we run them against various other financial entities. It is only once we've received the outcome from running their particulars across those financial entities do we then sample that particular beneficiary for a review. Clearly then, from that perspective, we should not have the situation that Chair refers to say that the grants are then closed and then the beneficiary is then called. Because after we've done all our, I'm sure everybody's aware now in this AI environment now, after we've done that data, we then send out SMSs to those respective beneficiaries to say, based on our intelligence that we've gathered from banks, because when you look at the SASSA grant, you see the person has only declared a Easy Pay account. But when you interface across BankServe, you find they've got 4 accounts across their names. Yeah. So it is those beneficiaries that are then targeted, not negatively, but to say, please come in and explain to us now that when you declared your income for the grant, you declared one account, But now we're finding 4 different accounts, and we're seeing that the one is carrying an investment account where there's been a lump sum that was gathered there. So at this stage, it's not punitive at all. It's for you to come and update your financial proceedings insofar as what you had initially declared, and then a decision then is ultimately taken in terms of whether you still qualify for the grant or you do not qualify for the grant. So it's just nothing more than enforcing the obligations for beneficiaries to report changes in their financial circumstances. You could have a beneficiary who applied for a grant and they were lawfully due to it. 3 or 4 later, they may have been involved in a road accident fund claim, and road accident fund paid them out a sum of money, which was not declared and put into another account. So until you come back and let us know in terms of that funding, and we measure it against the means that we have, will we then take a determination to confirm if you are still eligible for that grant or not? In terms of that whole process now and system stability, as the regional executive manager did point out, the system in terms of this migration to the digital environment has been rather unstable. We've now managed to stabilize it quite sufficiently. So you shouldn't have a problem going forward whereby officials say systems downtime and so forth. Because likewise, with the link to Home Affairs, we've now come up with the plan B that whereby if the system is down, we could still take your biometric, but load it offline. And when the system comes back on, it then generates into the live environment to make sure that you're biometrically checked. So that will go a long way to assisting us. And then likewise to one of the online questions, we're also rolling out our local offices, the queue management system for beneficiaries. So they don't sit for long times at our local offices. Very similar to how other government organizations operate as well as SARS. You come in the morning, you get a ticket, you sit, somebody then calls out the ticket, they advise you which counter to go to, and they deal with you. And for the elderly, we utilize them as express queue beneficiaries. So when they get there, they'll get a ticket that will concentrate purely on the express queue so they can be assisted and dealt with as soon as possible. The issue of creating fear and beneficiaries not knowing is definitely a good point that we can take home, because all our local officers, every morning before they commence work, they have what we call a climate meeting, whereby they basically then decide what the topical issue for the day will be, and we'll impress on them to say, at your climate meeting before you start working and you're addressing the beneficiaries who are present there at that given time, please talk about reviews, the eligibility criteria, and so forth. On the last one that I want to touch on is if monies are deposited into beneficiaries' accounts as a form of assisting your mom because you're in Joburg, you're working and so forth, there's no problem with that. But we just need that beneficiary to come and declare it and tell us. Because until you've told us, we assume that it's income coming into that account. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brian. Just to end by saying, we're looking forward to Portfolio Committee visiting one of our offices, like National did, to experience this live, so that from an informed point of view, we have about almost 6 million grant beneficiaries in KZN, and the highest beneficiary cohort, it's child support grant, 2.9 million. So those are ages between 18 and 59. And we're looking forward to that. But lastly is to say on what Mr. Bro was saying, we don't cut money just because you're getting pocket money from your child or something. What we agree upon when you apply, and the GOGOs know, we agreed and they signed to say, if it changes, we'll come in inform. So we encourage that, but we do home visit. I want to impress on home visit. On the traditional leadership partnership, we have that partnership. We need to intensify the partnership of traditional house of leadership. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, MEC.
Thank you very much, MEC. Uxoxele endaweni right efanele. Siyabonga kakhulu kwabaka SASSA. Cabanga ukuthi bekuyi last item yethu uSASSA now siyavala. Siyabonga MEC, siyabonga HOD and your team. Siyabonga Ministry ya MEC. Thank you very much, honorable members, the team from the legislature. uvusile eceleni kwami, siyabonga kakhulu. Siyobonana emhlanganweni olandelayo. Nihambe kahle, Nkosi ibe nani. Thank you. Oh, Honorable Maseko.